we are nonpartisan, so we're not promoting any candidates
Hmm.
or parties or policy positions uh, that are, like support a specific party, right? And we're targeting disaffected patriotic Americans of rural and blue collar backgrounds. And the challenge is that these individuals, they often do not vote in these elections, and especially this year in Virginia, it's a nadir of turnout. In Virginia, we vote every year. We, 2020 presidential, 2021 governor, 2022 federal, and then we have this weird election, 2023,
Yeah.
where it's just state elections. So turnout is especially important because there you don't have massive campaigns dumping a ton of money in here to turn people out. And you talk to a lot of folks, and they're not even aware that there is an election.
Right.
But it's a very important election. And our job is to make sure the voices of disaffected patriotic Americans of rural and blue collar backgrounds here in Virginia are heard.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of gets to this is interesting. What is the turnout of these elections in general? Do you have any sort of like stats?
I think that just generally the turnouts dip below 50% in these years in Virginia. And whereas in a presidential year when it's extremely hot and there's a lot of attention on it, it can eclipse 80. It's a pretty
Sure.
big difference. And it
Sure.
depends.
Sure.
And in some counties where there are counterparts to organization that do voter turnout, more urban counties, turnout is much higher consistently. Where you've got groups like I don't know, the NAACP and their allies that turn out their target voters or Rock the Vote, those programs in these more dense urban areas, but in the rural parts of the state, and where you've got this group of I call them disaffected patriots, but with rural and blue collar backgrounds, they just don't show up and vote. So we're trying to change that.
Yeah. What kinds of things are you doing? Is it just like a door knocking campaign? What kind of things are going like down on the ground?
We actually have 7 points of contact with our target voters. So that's door knocking, and that our strike force is deploying on Monday, and they'll be moving all throughout the state and growing. We'll be hitting these people with direct mail, which is very critical, and it's probably one of the most effective tools for reaching people. We're also going to be doing live phone calls to these individuals, and that will be starting next week. So we have a professional phone center dialing and reminding these people of the upcoming election, making sure they know how easy it is to vote, how easy it is to sign up for a permanent absentee ballot. We're also going to be sending text messages to these individuals. We're going to be sending um, robocalls to these individuals. We're going to be hitting them with digital ads as well.
Hmm.
And that's all. And then we have our sort of our trick, our ace in the hole, which is we have a postcard program where if you go to lookaheadamerica.org/postcards, we'll give you the addresses of 10 of these individuals and encourage you to send a postcard to them. So we just rolled that out yesterday. And what's interesting is, there's very little that somebody in your audience in the UK can do about American elections, but one thing you can do is send a postcard and tell these people how important it is that they vote. Give the URL, virginiaVoterAssistance.org, where they can learn about how to vote early, how to vote in person, and just show off a beautiful part of the world. Look, political mail, it's great, but a lot of it doesn't really get read, and a lot of it gets thrown in the trash. But a personalized, handwritten postcard from a different part of the country or a different part of the world, that does get read. So we're encouraging people to go to our website, get their 10 addresses,
Yeah.
and send those postcards.
That's interesting. The Yeah, I'm wondering what kind of reaction you're getting. Because voting has been, perhaps more than it has been in many years, a bone of contention. Particularly in 2020. Are you hearing that people are saying, "Oh, well, are turned off from voting or turned off from postal voting or absentee voting at all?" The kinds of voters that you're trying to reach because of, what Donald Trump and other people have said?
Right. That is a consistent and persistent problem. And I've done everything I can to overcome it. I actually went on Tim Pool's show and debated Mike
Hmm.
Lindell
Yeah,
around
I
the
saw
boards.
I saw part of that. Yeah, yeah.
So there's obviously been a lot of poison put into the well. The reality is that in Virginia, as is the case in many other states, when you get that ballot and you send it back, you can see it tracked every step of the way online. And there are a lot of reasons why you should vote early. One is that you're more likely to secure your vote. It's more likely to count than if you wait until election day and something happens, you get distracted. Or, there's all kinds of other issues on election day in
Yes.
Maricopa. One of the other reasons we're encouraging people that I think is pretty motivating is that there are some people that can only vote on election day because they have disabilities and they need extra help. So by voting early, in person or by mail, you're freeing up the queue on election day, so that the people who can only vote on that day because of their age or related disabilities, that they can have an easiest time as possible exercising their right. Because if they show up and there's a big long line of people who could have voted by mail by early, they may get disenfranchised because they can't wait in the line that long. They've got other special conditions. One of the other things we point out to people is that if you vote early, guess what happens? We know you voted early. All the campaigns know you voted early. So you stop getting your door knocked on by people like us. You stop getting your mailbox stuff. Your phone stops ringing off the hook. You stop getting text messages because all of those things cost money. And our organization and any other campaign, if they know you've already voted, there's no point in continuing to spend money annoying you and pestering you. One of the
Yeah.
other convincing points we have, and again, we're a nonprofit organization. We don't support candidates or parties or anything. But sometimes we just tell people, the way election, and this is factual, some people who are hesitant to vote, we can give them a list of reasons why it's safe to vote. And one of the reasons we can point out is that in every county in Virginia, the Board of Elections is controlled by Republicans. Every single county in Virginia. And for some people, they find that very persuasive. In Virginia, the State Board of Elections is governed by 3 individuals. One person's got to be a Republican, one's got to be a Democrat, and the third person is somebody appointed by the governor. Because Republicans have the governorship, that third person, the majority vote, 2/3 vote, is guaranteed to be Republican. And I can't tell you about how elections are run in other states, but look ahead America. One of our first actions was actually in 2017, where we were poll watchers. We did election monitoring here in Virginia at 30 locations, and what we found is that regardless of how we support, how happy we were or sad we were with the outcome of the election, we can say that to our eyes it was a clean election. And we've also done voter list hygiene here in Virginia, and we're going to continue to do that. And for the most part, the lists are very clean. They do a very good job removing voters who don't belong. And just yesterday, we congratulated Governor Youngkin. We recognized the steps he's taken, new additional steps he's taken to ensure that there's good voter list hygiene, so the only people who are supposed to be able to cast ballots are allowed to, which I think is very important. And he has shown good leadership on that, and we recognize it.
Yeah, I see. So, it would be great. Do you think it might be possible for me to maybe shadow somebody from your group as they go about doing this? I mean, whether it's sort of next week or at some point soon, and maybe just sort of
We'd love you to
see what
do
they're
that.
doing.
We'd love you to do that.
Great.
But there's a small, we'd love you to do that. But there is one thing you need to be aware of, is that because our targeted voters are somewhat are a little bit spaced out, our door team, they're actually on motorized scooters going from door to door so that they can be as efficient as possible. So maybe you get your own scooter or something, or you drive, I guess. And,
sure.
You just walk door to door with us and watch us, do these conversations where our real win condition is walking away from that door with a filled out absentee ballot request form. We're not allowed to ballot harvest in Virginia, but we are allowed to harvest permanent absentee ballot request forms. So we take those and then we submit them, and then we help make sure that the person returns their ballot, that it gets into the mailbox. So, and so we'd be more than happy to have you observe our team. We're moving throughout the state. We're starting in Northern Virginia, and then we're going to Richmond, and then we're going down to the Hampton Roads area, and we're just repeating that cycle over and over.
Okay, great. fine. Well, then how should we sort of get the ball rolling on this and figure out when would be good and where?
Well, I'm going to be doing it myself, so I'd love for you to come with me. We obviously know the door team is starting on Monday, so we'll probably need about a couple of days to maybe a week to get shaken out. But after the week after that,
sure.
we'd love to have you in bed with us, and we'd love, honestly,
great.
I think more journalists should do this because, just as long as you don't slow us down, we're more than happy to have you.
I'll I'll be a fly on the wall. If you guys are fast, I'll just race to catch up. Great. Okay. Good. Well, let's make a plan because I would really like to see what's going on. I think it's really sort of interesting twist and some interesting stuff that you're doing.
Yep. Okay. Happy to do it.
All right. Great. Well, we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. I'll have Julie loop you in on embed opportunities. Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Good to speak to you. Bye-bye.